Good news! Joe Biden's not in his basement anymore. But guess what? He's still getting softball questions on the campaign trail. Last night, he participated in a CNN town hall, not infomercial. Technically, it was a town hall. Kind of was an infomercial. But out of all the people to ask him questions, 13 out of the 16 questions were Democrats, and the other 3 just hate Trump. In a big contrast, though, when Trump did his town hall on ABC News with George Stephanopoulos earlier this week, he had 4 Republicans, 3 Hillary Clinton voters, and the rest were all undecided, when none of them actually gave him a softball. So to discuss all of this, let's bring in our company, Joe Concha, reporter for The Hill and former quiz champion, and Seth Denson, also former quiz champion, healthcare analyst and author of The Curve, a blueprint for solving America's crisis. Gentlemen, welcome back. Great to see y'all.
Happy Friday.
Joe, you're not just, Seth, rather, you're not just, anyway, I'll get to that later. Anyway, let's
next block.
Next block, sorry.
Save it.
Getting ahead
Save
of myself.
We're so excited. It's Friday. You know, guys, one of the things that I love about Joe Biden is that you can trust that he's not going to flip-flop on things. He's going to say the same thing time and time again. I want to show you what he said at a debate last year and what he said last night. Take a listen.
No new fracking. Well, fracking has to continue because we need a transition. We're going to get to net zero emissions by 2050, and we'll get to net zero power emissions by 2035. But there's no rationale to eliminate right now fracking.
No rationale unless you're in a primary debate and you have to say no new fracking. Then you can be against fracking. But
exactly.
General election, fracking.
This is crazy, Joe. We just see him flip-flop back and forth, so I stand corrected. But, this fracker asked him if he wanted to stop fracking, and he said, no. I don't know why Anderson Cooper didn't say, wait.
A swing state, man.
You said this before. What's the deal here, Joe?
Well, I wish during these town halls that they would put a moderator up there, for instance, one that may have, moderated a presidential debate in 2016, like an Anderson Cooper, who would step in and say, wait a minute, sir, you said this back in the primaries, and now you're saying this now, so it appears that you've changed your position. Why is that? Oh, that's right. There was Anderson Cooper up on the stage yesterday that didn't fact check or press Biden even once, because that's not his job anymore. Anderson Cooper actually used to be a damn good journalist. And now what we saw last night, as you mentioned, Sean, more than 80% of the questions come from Democratic voters. If you're CNN and you want to say that you're objective, it's pretty simple. If Joe Biden gets 16 questions, then 8 come from Republicans and 8 come from Democrats. And this way, you get a fair town hall. Instead, this was a fixed fight. It's not like these people were randomly chosen. CNN knew what these questions would be, who would be asking them, and what the reaction would be, including one guy who actually volunteered for the Hillary Clinton campaign in 2016. He actually got to ask a question last night without being identified as somebody who volunteered for the Hillary Clinton campaign. So that's all you need to say. These weren't softballs, they were beach balls, and CNN egg on face even more, but I don't think it even matters to him at this point, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Seth, it wasn't just this fracking question that he flip-flopped on. Unfortunately, I want to show you something else that Joe Biden said just earlier in the year about China. I'm going to play that and then show what he said last night.
Bad folks, but guess what? They're not they're competition for us.
All right. China, not a competition for us. We couldn't pull the soundbite because there were only a certain clip CNN allowed. But here's a headline that shows what Joe Biden actually said. He said, China's a competition. Last night, that's what he said. It is a competition. Once again, flip-flopping, and wasn't called out, Seth.
No called out anything. And I think, we're hearing the word softball. This was the difference if you looked at Trump's town hall versus this. This is the difference between the NFL and a powder puff football game. I think at one point there was even a bro hug between Anderson Cooper and Joe Biden. So, no, but listen, when it comes to China, let's be very clear here. They are a formidable enemy. I mean, if you look at, what they're doing in Laos to take control of the power and water, what they're doing in Africa to take over harbors. I mean, this is a country who is strategically focused on overtaking the world, and they're taking strategic steps to do it. We need someone who's serious about this in the White House, and Joe is proving that he is certainly not serious when it comes to China.
I literally thought the thing that was amazing, to your point, Joe Concha, is time and time again, Anderson Cooper, I wanted to reach through the screen and be like, don't you see what he's doing here? He literally on your own air said exactly the opposite. And he's sitting there nodding. He's like, good point. This guy's got he's making a good case here.
Yeah, the most egregious point, Sean, was when Joe Biden said that if he were president, that there would be no COVID deaths in the United States. Not just there would be less, there would be zero. That is something you have to push back on. Of course, that didn't happen. He also said that President Trump didn't mention coronavirus in his State of the Union address. Yes, he did. But if you go back and look at 3 debates in February, nationally televised, Joe Biden didn't broach coronavirus once, nor did he during his Super Tuesday victory speech, and that was in March. So don't tell me that he would have been out in front of this. He was way behind, and he has been behind ever since. And look, it all comes down to the presidential debate, guys, that start in less than 2 weeks. It won't be like what CNN served up last night. And if you don't go in with a good sparring partner, and that wasn't a good sparring partner last night, you're going to get your butt kicked. And
well, the difference there, the difference with the debate, Joe, is that it's you can't just get by with someone like Anderson Cooper, who's literally nudging you along. You actually have somebody else on stage. The thing that's interesting, you brought it up, I want to ask this to Seth, is there's a lot of debate going on right now about the Trump campaign and Republicans, because it's not just the campaign, but it's a lot of Republicans who are saying, oh, Joe Biden's lost it, Joe Biden's lost it. I point out the fact, and I know that Jason Miller and others on the campaign are saying the same thing. Joe Biden's been in Washington 47 years. He's been around the Senate. He knows how to debate. And I think, two vice presidential debate series, he knows what he's doing. And if the bar is too low, then it's not going to take much. Abby, I can't remember her name. She was one of the CNN commentators out last night. And the commentator, what she said after the debate was, Joe Biden stood on stage tonight and did not screw up. And for that's a win because the bar is so low. That's what she said from the Washington Post, rather. Seth, I think the question and the concern I have is that the bar is getting too low for Joe Biden. And that all he has to do is literally stand there and not pass out. And he gets seen as a winner.
That's absolutely correct. I mean, I watched last night, and he answered all the questions thoroughly. It did look like I thought at one point he was going to pass out, but that is the bar that we've set for Joe Biden. The president and the GOP needs to be very careful about that as they go into this. The president needs to go at him and push back and demand answers. But to your point, Sean, this is a career politician. He went straight from law school into politics. I loved how he was talking about Scranton and man of the people. Listen, the last time Joe picked up a hammer except for a photo op was never. So he needs to be pressed on that and understand how he's a man of the people, considering he's lived his entire vocational career in politics.
Yeah, but he takes Amtrak, and that's got to count for something. All right, guys. All right, stay where you are. Joe Concha get changed into some random team. We are about to take our company quiz. Lindsay is the current reigning champ. Joe Concha's won a couple times. Seth Denson's won at least won once. All right, it's up right after the break.